What's up, my friends? Chrissy Crash here. Have you ever felt like you are training hard, but still not seeing results on the track? Or maybe the anxiety before the game hits you so hard you wonder if you were ever cut out for this? Well, today's guest used to feel the exact same way until she learned how to train with intention, build real strength, and flip that anxiety into game day focus. This isn't about some cheesy glow up story. This is a master class on becoming the athlete you were meant to be. So today's episode is a roadmap. I am talking to DJ Chris, aka Mad Madam Mim, also known as Mim, about how she went from doing random workouts off the track and feeling anxious before every bout to becoming a confident rostered skater, playing in mashups, getting an MVP, and someone who no longer needs to take anxiety meds just to go to practice. So the mission of this conversation is that it's packed with real strategies, like how to turn adrenaline into performance, what it takes to build a strong derby body without the gym, and then also how mindset can really create ripple effects in every part of your life, from your family to your job. So whether you've been skating for years or you're still just figuring out how to show up like an athlete, this episode is for you. So get ready to take some notes. So let's get into it. Mim, I'm so excited you're here.
Thanks. I'm so excited to talk to you today. This is great.
So excited. So first things first, let's get right into it.
Okay.
You mentioned that you used to train pretty randomly off the track. Talk about what that looked like for you. What were things like for you originally in terms of training and derby and stuff?
Well, I first started out with, not doing any extra training. So I joined Derby and was like, oh, this is how I'm going to get fit and have a community and everything. And then, of course, found out that one practice a week wasn't going to do it. And then I needed to do additional strength training. So I joined, a local gym, and I would just go and be like, okay, well, I mean, I know, I'd done weights before, but I'd never really put together a program. So go and pick, okay, what's available today? I don't know if I should work my arms. Do I work 3 different things? What goes together? Try, does a personal trainer work? And they're all very generic personal trainers. Or I'm going to go, I made a buddy and I'm just going to go follow them around and go, okay, what are we doing today? Kind of thing. And
So
it
it
really
was
wasn't seeing results. I'd get sore on any given day, right? But it wasn't adding up to anything. And I knew it wasn't really figuring out the best, ways to work the right muscles and the right things together to then get the results on the track.
I think that's a really key thing that you just said about the soreness piece. I think so many times we think, oh, well, I'm sore, so obviously it's working. But you were like, well, I'm sore, but I'm not actually getting better at roller derby.
Yeah. And I didn't know, should I push myself more? Am I pushing myself too much?
Yeah.
All of that sort of thing.
What was sort of your aha moment that made you realize that maybe you needed more derby specific training?
Just that I had done that for about 3 or 4 months and I still wasn't seeing more results. And so, and then I was starting to, do internet searches and it was still all very overwhelming to try to understand what does it really look like.
And you found Crash Course through a 21-day challenge.
Actually, yeah, it was sort of. So I had been looking at it for a while. I'd looked at different programs and different aspects, and I think you and I actually first talked back in the fall before that 21-day challenge.
That's right, we
did, and I was very interested, but I jumped into things before, right? I jumped into a gym membership, I jumped into something, and I was still sitting there like it sounded like something good. But I wasn't sure if I could invest the time or the money in it. And so I went back, I talked to a few of my teammates who'd been in Thrive, and we're still trying to kind of really figure out, how do I budget this, et cetera. And so when you came up with a 21-day challenge, I thought, well, this is a great way for me to get an introduction. Like I can see, what the program's really like. I can see, am I able to fit this in, or am I able to change the things, not just fit it in, right? But am I able to make the changes that I need to make to do these kind of workouts, and so forth. And so that was a really great introduction. I won the challenge.
And what did you notice even in the first 21 days? What was different for you?
That it was really structured. It was really structured, Derby specific. I could come in and feel like I could follow this program, that it was hard, but it was doable. And then it wasn't just, okay, here's a list of exercises to go do, that we had the support. We were really, all in this community, like cheering each other on and, saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe, this is the workout for today, or those sort of things. But it all kind of felt like this big community, together to work towards something bigger and better.
And as you started putting in that work, how did your view of yourself as an athlete change?
It's been taking a while. It probably still took, into going into crash course and transformation, so forth. I've never seen myself as an athlete. In high school, I took marching band for a PE. I still remember the first time I went skiing on a senior trip. One of my teachers was like, "You just really went at that for 2 days. Like, what do you?" And so I've done things, but I never really, because I wasn't, that basketball player, that whatever. I never saw myself as an athlete, no matter what sport I did as an adult. And so it really took a lot of, talking and with the group and everything to say, if you do this, no matter whether you're the top of the line or you're working on things, that you need to view yourself as an athlete, or you're not going to make the changes that you need to really play the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such an interesting thing, right? Like, you start developing yourself as an athlete, like through those actions and like showing up for yourself, which you've done such a great job of doing. And I know that you said mindset was a big piece of this for you, and not just for developing yourself as an athlete, but also like the mindset work that you were doing in Crash Course was almost like complementing what you were doing like with therapy. Like, so can you give examples of like breakthroughs that really, really stuck with you through that?
Yeah, so I've joked privately, right, that you and my therapist must have each other's phone numbers, and are having discussions behind the scenes. But so I started Derby as an empty nester. My youngest had gone off to college, and really working through, that's a big life change. And so there's a lot of things about what you can control, what you can't control. How do you view yourself? I'm trying to think of all the things, right? It just all kind of dovetails together into, burnout. We talked about that, more recently, and like, what are the things that you're doing in your life that set you up for success, and what are the things where you're trying to do too many things, you're trying to take control of too many things, so forth. I still remember one of the first breakthrough calls I had with you. I was talking about something, and I said something about we, needed to do something, and I was talking about one of my kids, and you were like, "I'm sorry, we? Where is the we?" And I was like, "Oh, you're right. It's my kid's responsibility, and I'm here as support." So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you pegged me right off the bat.
Oh, like, I see it. We're gonna delegate here. And I know the mindset piece was really big for you with like pre-bout anxiety and stuff like that. So like, what were some of the tools that helped you shift from feeling super anxious before bouts, before games, to feeling a lot more focused?
I not only had pre-bout anxiety, I had pre-practice anxiety, right? Just showing up, even to practice and being like, I don't think I can do this. Why am I here? I'm just gonna, turn around right now before I even get in the building and go back home, kind of thing. And I think, probably we talked about it a little bit throughout, about comparing me to just myself, right? Not comparing myself to the others on the track, about it being a skill that we have to be okay. And I'm in a room now that the lights have gone out because I wasn't moving. Make my light come back on. Okay. Never know what's going to happen live. So a lot of those things were happening, and I would say, really probably when we got together we did the live workshop in January, and we talked about a couple of things. One about, taking up space on a track, right? And that I'm here, I'm part of this league, I'm a part of Derby, and I deserve to take up space on the track. And I know some of my teammates had been telling me that, like, come on, get on here and do that. But I think it wasn't, it kind of all been building up to that, that real moment. And then talking through some of the things about breath work, and that I need to set my own plan for how I want to approach the track, and how I want to approach practice and so forth. And there's going to be different pockets of people. Some are going to be over there being quiet. Some are going to be over there listen to hype up music. Some are going to be talking through their anxiety. And I don't need to feel like, that I'm supposed to be everything to everybody, and whatever, that I need to find my own way of preparing. Because we're still going to have anxiety before bouts, right? I mean, it's a game, and if we're not a little bit hyped up, then we're not ready to play. But how do you take that and channel it into something where you use the energy on the track instead of just getting myself worked up?
Yep, exactly, right? Because we can use our imagination for good or for evil. Like we can
Yep.
imagine ourselves doing really well and get really excited, or we can imagine ourselves doing horribly and then just like totally freak out.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then how did having like a tailored like workout plan based on like your equipment and your space help you stay more consistent?
It helped me stay more consistent because, well, I ended up doing a lot of it at home because going to the gym was a struggle for me. By the time I got myself dressed, got there, etc., that added in a lot of time. So being able to use the equipment I had at home really made it much harder for me to have an excuse for not going to work out. And it really made me feel like I could do this. I'd looked at other things and it'd be like, oh, and now let's go outside and use these cones. And I was thinking, it's September, it's August in Texas. I am not going outside to do anything, right? Or one was like, this was something different that I looked at. It was like, go do this on the stairs. And I'm like, I don't have stairs at my home. And so then I was still trying to take those things and go, well, what works and what doesn't? And that's not my background. I'm not, a kinesiologist, so I don't know what would give me the same benefits as the stairs or as the cones outside. And so having Coach Sen say, okay, what's your list of equipment? Or when I travel, I'll be like, okay, I'm traveling for the holidays, here's what I'm going to have access to. And she says, all right, let's do these workouts. And it really just makes it a lot easier and takes away a lot of the excuses. So I can just go in, look at my workout plan, say, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and then get up the next morning and do it.
That's so great. And that consistency is obviously paying up because you definitely got an MVP in the mashup. What was that like? How did that feel?
That was really surprising. So I'd kind of been trying to let go of the idea that I was going to get any kind of MVP. I know people who'd played for several years, right, etc. And so I went to a mashup last November. That was we had a rookie intermediate mashup, and so real big surprise to get that, and it just felt really good to see that others saw that I was doing something well on the track.
And did that feel like a turning point for you?
It did. Some of it was the MVB, and some of it was the people who said that for me, that I'd gotten to meet through the mashup, and really getting more involved with some other folks who were about at my level, and working with them more from there. So that's kind of what was the turning point.
Amazing. And, a huge piece that we talk about a lot in Crash Course is like building the habits of high performers and the routines of high performers, because it's one thing to just like have these workouts and like try to get them done, but like it's so much easier when things are automated. So how did having like set up morning and nighttime routines, like how did that help set you up for success? Are there any like key pieces of it that really help you?
I would say the nighttime routines are key. Anytime I'm feeling off in the mornings, rather than looking at my morning, I realized I need to look at the night before. Because once I get up, it's got to keep moving. But if I don't get enough sleep, I don't have things set up the night before. So, the night before, I look at my next day. And even at the beginning of the week, I try to look at my week. But every night before I go, I'm like, okay, what's the weather? What are my clothes? So I go ahead and set up my clothes, because I do travel into the office. I go ahead and on a shelf in the refrigerator, put all of the things that I'm going to need, so I can just grab it all at once and stick it in my lunchbox. And it's not like sorting through, even if I have meals prepped, if they're all over the fridge, it's going to take me longer in the morning. And I'm going to forget something. So I have everything set up there. And then I sit there and I look at the workout plan for the next day and say, okay, what time am I going to need to get up? What am I going to need to be prepared for? Sometimes there'll be, there could be something in there that I'm like, well, my knee's bothering me a little bit. Maybe I should adjust this a little bit or something. And so I'll go ahead and adjust it the night before, and set up my stuff so that when I wake up the next morning, I pick up my devices that I want to play it on, and pick up the music, go out there, let the dog out, and then I can just immediately get started. If it's a new exercise, I'll watch the video the night before. I'll probably rewatch it again in the morning, but at least then I've kind of got an idea, because it was taking me a lot longer when I was getting up and like trying to learn everything the morning of.
And do you feel like with that, as you've continued on in the program, things have gotten easier and easier as it's sort of become more of your like daily flow, or you've gotten better?
I would say so. I would say that, everything comes in fits and starts. And so we always have to kind of, reset a little bit. I overscheduled myself recently. And so it's been a little bit harder, and it's been sitting here going like, okay, but I don't feel like, oh, I'm a failure. Oh, this program, I can't do this. Why did I, it's just like, okay, I let myself get off. I need to step back, and then it's, we're moving from the winter into the spring. There's lots of cool stuff that happens in the spring. I said yes to too many things. What do I need to do to reset myself? And it's a much easier reset than it has been in the past.
Amazing. And what role has like the community, like the Crash Course community, played for you? Like, especially like support from the coaches and like from the group?
Oh, it's been incredible. Like I schedule things around the weekly group calls because I want to make sure and be there. Going into the Facebook group, right? Being able to share something that I'm excited about, and others, cheer for me, or being able to share something that like, hey, I'm a little worried about this, or does anybody have any suggestions for something? You get a lot of different voices, but they're all supportive voices. So they all come from different perspectives and different places. And then, we'll make friends, and now I'll go to a bout and like, okay, who am I going to see from Crash Course that I know here? Or somebody will be like, oh my gosh, I know you from wherever. And we kind of have a connection to that. And the coaches are just fantastic. In terms of again being supportive, and being willing to call me on stuff, right? When I've got too many excuses or got whatever, in that loving and kind way, but being like, hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah. It's having that outside perspective that's like not linked to your life, I think is so great when you have someone that like isn't like emotionally attached, and it isn't willing to let you off the hook, so that it's having that sort of like objective outside perspective where you're like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, but it's not the no excuses thing either, right? I've seen too many places
Exactly.
like there are no excuses, and it's like, this is a season in your life, or this is this, right? But then also being like, but you need to be looking at this thing.
Yeah. And looking back, what advice would you give to a skater who's still stuck in like random workouts mode and doesn't yet see themselves as an athlete?
I would say that, if you want to play the sport, you're going to need to make a change and to really make a plan for what you want to do. Crash Course is a great way to support that plan. But if you don't have a plan, you're really not going to get anywhere with it. And it's going to be something that you need to be willing to make the commitment to. It's not just something where you're going to go, oh, I'm going to take my existing life and I'm going to fit things into it.
Mm-hmm. Right, because you have to become a different person in the process. And you have. I mean, that's what I really love about your story too, DJ. It's just like how real it is, right? Like you didn't come into this with some like high-end sports background. Like you weren't like, oh, I'm just like the naturally gifted like pro athlete, but you became one. Like that's like my favorite thing. Like I think back to when we first chatted after that challenge, and like seeing you now, and just even like your level of like confidence, like you have become this awesome athlete because you showed up, right? Because you put in the work, because you kept going even in the times that it was really messy and hard. So I remember having some of those conversations. And you really have turned anxiety into performance, and it's just been it's been so freaking cool to see. So I just want to say that I'm really, really proud of you, and it's been really magical to watch. And I know that this is just the beginning, but we're very, very proud of you.
Thank you so much. That's great to hear. I'm proud of myself.
Good, you should be. And to anyone that's listening right now, if you are tired of guessing your way through training, if you are ready to actually like see yourself as an athlete and then actually back it up with action, then this might be your moment. I will drop a link down in the comments. If you want to learn more about Crash Course, there's an opportunity to potentially apply. We don't accept everyone. But if you want to learn more about it, I'll drop a link down below. And keep an eye on DJ. We are so excited to watch you just continue to absolutely slay it and continue to grow. And we're just so proud of you. So keep it up.
All right. Thanks. And thanks for the opportunity to share today.
Absolutely. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, life is a contact sport. Win. We'll see you later.